Okay, right now in this lesson we're going to learn how to use the Oracle data pump. But before moving on, I want us to go into a bit of history. Okay, let me increase the font here. A bit of history, let us understand how we got to the Oracle data pump, because in the past database systems we had what we call the export and the import utility, and these things are very much around still. They're very useful because where the export and import utility can be useful is in the area of, when you want to migrate from Oracle 9i. This is a very old version, but some people still have this database on 9i, and 9i did not have data pump. Okay, so you can use that also when some users make a mistake and install some of their objects under the sys schema. Okay, when you have objects under the sys schema, remember the only way you can get them out is by using the export import utility if you are really doing big migrations, because data pump does not support migrating the sys schema. Very important to understand this stuff. Okay, so I will say export and import, you just have to know a little bit about it. It's old stuff, but still useful in the real world. Okay, now I'm going to connect to my database to a new session using the PuTTY. Okay, I'm going to connect as the Oracle user. All right. Let me increase the font here. Change settings. Appearance. I'm going to change it to 16 so it becomes bigger, more visible. Okay, I'll put in my password. So I'm now connected, and let us see something very interesting thing here. I thought about the export utility. Notice that I type export and it tells me it does not find export. Why? Because my environment is not set yet. All right, so I've saved the environment, the environment. I've saved it for a database, a database server called DBA server 1. I saved all the variables I need in a file. So what I just need to do is to run the file, and the file sets the environment for me. And when I run the exp, you can see now it asks me, it now finds it. All right, exp help. I use the help utility, and you can see the export utility gives you a list of things you can do and how you use it. Now, okay, let me quickly shift this stuff here a bit so that everybody can see it. Okay. Sorry there, 1 minute. I'll get this stuff in order. Okay. Alright, so what I'm going to do now, you normally use exports to export your data into files. You could export tables, you could export the whole database. Okay. You could export your tables or your database, with the option that it exports only the create statements, which we call the DDL statements. It does not export the data. If you can choose not to export the data, you have many options. You can choose not to export to compress the file. If you have big files, maybe you want to compress your data file. Okay, you have the option to name the file where you want it to be. It would be wise to put it in a location where there's enough space. Okay, and I'm going to do some examples here. Okay, I'm going to connect to the database from remote. Here I'm connected as, okay, let me just do a new connection because I want to connect as an ordinary user. So I'll do the plus here. Just look at how I'm doing it. And I'm going to call it, my username is Gaga. Okay, I'm going to call it Gaga connection. Okay, and my username is Gaga. And my password, nobody knows, only me, so I just keep it to myself. You put your password here. Okay, you have to get the host name. 4637.12.224. That is the IP string. Then the service name, I'm going to use DBA server 1. Okay. So now this is a new connection, and I'm going to say I should save the password. So all the time I don't have to put that password there. So I now test the connection. It tells me that the the port, I made a mistake there, sorry. This is supposed to be the local host here, and the IP is 1521. Okay, so I say I test it, and it goes fine. So what I'm going to do is to connect. Okay, so yeah, we have the TA Gaga connected. I'm going to just close this other windows I have here, and so what I'm going to do right now, you have a couple of files online. Remember, if you go to the, I think for now, what I'll do, I'll just go directly to my, okay, I'm going to copy this file here. OCP, okay, this is all right here. You just edit this file. Now this file actually, what it does is to create certain objects, okay? Can you see it? The employee, yes, and all these are just testing objects here. So I'm going to load this thing into my SQL loader, SQL, developer pane. Okay. I got that folder under my C OCP. Okay. I'll load these examples. So what do I have here? I have my, okay, so what I'm going to do, what this does is to drop the objects if they exist and recreates them, okay, and loads them. So I'm going to run it as a batch script, run this script, and I'm going to make sure it's connected to the right place. That's my connection to my server. Okay, and it does the work we want it to do very correctly, okay? You're going to see that file on your folder online. You just download it and do exactly what I'm doing here. So right now I have a couple of tables. How will I know the kind of tables I have? I could just, query, select table underscore name from user underscore tables. Okay, so if I run this, normally I should see the tables I have right now. Okay, you see them? These are the tables I have right now under my schema, and you can notice that these are the ones some of the ones we just created. Okay, so using the export utility, I'm going to show you examples of how I can export things. All right, let's look at it now. I'm on the machine. This is the old method of export, but I told you it's very important. I'm going to give you three examples. I'm going to export the owner object. I'm going to export the database. Okay, and I'm going to export let's see now. I'm going to export certain tables. All right. Now, if I say owners in the new version, which is data form, normally you write schema, but in the old version you write owner. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to write export, and I'm going to owner is equal to T-Egaga. Okay. That's why you can see properly. Let me clear this stuff. Export owner equals to Egaga. Okay. File is equal to T Egaga export.dmp. No. This is I'm using export utility. This is an old utility. We're not using the export. The dump file goes with export data pump. Then you have log. Okay. And I put the owner equals to T-Egaga. What happens is it's going to export only the objects that are under the schema T-Egaga. So I'm going to, okay, so you see what it's doing here? See, it's exported virtually all the objects under the schema. If I had triggers, if I had synonyms, if I had, views or whatever, everything under the owner, the schema T-Egaga will be exported, okay? It's very interesting. Now, I'm going to connect as the sys DBA, okay? And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to drop that user, right? T-Egaga. All right. When you say the cascade option, it means that it drops the user along with all his objects. It tells me that the user is connected, so what I'm going to do is to disconnect. I press disconnect. Okay, so I'm disconnected there. All right, so what I'm going to do now is to drop the user again, try to drop it again. So all of my objects have been have been dropped. So what I have to do is to create that user again, because under the export, owner, let me show you something, because these things are different. You have to understand this stuff. So I'm going to try to import that stuff now. Okay. So I have to specify from full equals, so I just put full, so I just import everything. And let us see what happens here. So in this example here, you can see it tries to import it, but the user TA Gaga does not exist. With the data pump utility, which we are going to see shortly, normally this will automatically recreate the user, but we didn't have this in the past. So what I have to do is to recreate that user manually, okay? And I'm going to connect AssistDB and create user TA Gaga identified by TA Gaga, and I'm going to say password expire so that I can reset it myself. Default table space TA Gaga, because there's a table space called TA Gaga, okay. And profile application, okay. So I'm going to grant, not to waste time, I'm going to grant DBA to TA Gaga. So grant DBA to TA Gaga, okay. So now what happens? I have to now connect as TA Gaga and change the password so that nobody sees my password. Okay. How do I do that? So exit. Clear. SQL plus TA Gaga. Sorry, TA Gaga. So I have to change my password because I put password expire. So I'm going to put my secret password so that nobody can see me. Okay. I have to confirm so I don't make mistakes. So the password has been changed. TA Gaga now exists. I'm going to clear this. I'm going to try to import it now. Clear. So you can see all the objects are now imported back into TA Gaga, and TA Gaga now, if I connect again from remote and I run that same query, you can see it brings out the tables again. These are the tables that have been re-imported, okay? So I can equally export the database. Okay, I can export only a table. Let me just try this one. A table called employee, isn't it? If I'm exporting as a user TA Gaga employee, remember that if you are doing something like a no more tables, okay, equal to employee. I'm going to do this as the user Gaga. Sorry, it's tables, not table, okay? So it asks me because I put only my name. I'm going to put my, if you don't want somebody to behind you to see your password, you can use this method. So I'm going to put the password here. So you can see it exported only one table there. Okay? I can just do a full okay. Now let me, when you use the full, it's better you okay, TA Gaga has the privilege of DBA, so I can use it. This one will take longer because it's going to export everything in the database, okay? So I'm just showing you an example of the full. And while this stuff goes on, I want us to understand that's what we call legacy systems, okay? These are the olden way, the way we did these things in the past, but it's still very useful because some of these databases are there to this very day, right? Now I'm going to go straight away to the data pump utility. It's a modern way of operating certain things. It's a wonderful tool. It's much faster. It has more options than that of the export import, of old. Of course, it's not a perfect tool, but very, very useful, okay? And most of this stuff that happens here with the export, data pump tool is that it's a server-side tool. No matter where you run it from, the export will always be performed on the database server. Okay? And there's something that we have to understand, we have to know when we go into using data pump. There's an object called the directory, okay? All right? The directory. Now, the directory is actually it's a logical pointer to a location on the file system. Okay? You can define a directory in your database, but that directory is actually a pointer to a directory, on a file system. All right? And for this thing to work, that directory on the file system must already exist. You understand my point? Otherwise, you'll be exporting in vain. So, when you run the create directory command, what it does is simply map a name to an object that is supposed to already exist. And always remember that all the directories are owned by sys. Okay? By the sys users, okay? Always. They're always owned by the sys users. Alright, but you can have permissions to operate on them. You can have permissions to create a directory. We have, anybody that will create a directory should have, the ability to create a directory. And one of the commands is create any directory privilege, okay? Normally, if you want a user other than the super user to create directories, you should give him this privilege, okay? Very important. So, I'm going to, without wasting time, we're going to do some examples. because examples have now this export that we just ran is finished. Okay, this is the full export. You can notice it's bigger than the other exports we did because it has more data in it. Okay, and you have the log file. When you open the log file, you can actually see what happened, what transpired within the export process. All right, so now, like with most utilities in the IT industry, there's always a help menu. Okay, you have the export data pump and the import data pump. I said help is equal to yes, and it brings out a lot of the things in menu showing you how you can actually use this export data pump utility. All right, you can see things like attach, start job, status. Okay, many of these things you might not ever use. Some of them you use very, very often. Okay, you can see you can list the tables that you want to export. Okay, with the data pump, you can, you can also list table spaces if you are using normally the transportable table space. This is another method for migration. It's quite advanced, okay, but we can't cover that right now. You can specify a service name if you want to export. You can specify schemas. Schemas is what used to be referred as owners in the old system. You can specify reuse underscore dump files if you already have a dump file with the same name and you want to overwrite what is already there. Okay, if a file already exists and you don't write the reuse dump file, it will fail. Okay, you will not be able to export because it already exists. So you have to have the, that, very, very important. Okay, so you have remap data where you want to remap the data for a table into another table or something like that, or into another schema. Okay, and you have, instead of specifying a full table, you can actually use a query, and the query will actually be exported into a file. Okay, for instance, now you might want to export the details of a particular, department in a company. When you query the table, you can select all from employee table where department is equal to this. So you can export using also the query option. Okay, you have the no log. When you write no log, what it means, you will not generate a log file. Okay, and you have many other options. You have the log file, which means it will tell you what is the name of your log file. You have the full option, which means full. You have the flashback time and flashback underscore SCN. These are used when you want a consistent backup. Okay, these are things that you will learn along the way. You have the export, the estimate only. You use this normally. Professionally, it's very important if you want to export data and import somewhere. If you are exporting a very big schema, you want to find out the size of the file that will be generated or the size of the schema. You might use the estimate only. When you run this command, it will only give you the size. It will not actually export. It only gives you how big your file is, so you can know where to place your file, your dump file, and whatever. Okay, then you have other options that are very valid, and we're going to see some of them today. Remember, you have the export utility, you have the import utility. Normally, when you export, you want to define somewhere on your computer where there is space, isn't it? Where you can export your file to. Now here I've got a df-h on the Linux computer, and what I'm seeing here, I have a file system called root, and underneath the root I have a directory called workdir. I change here, and I have a directory called export dir under Okay, what I can do there is to, if it does not exist, I'll create this directory. A directory here called export dir that will point to this particular directory called /workdir/export dir. Okay, to do this, I'm going to connect to MySQL Plus. Okay, and I'm going to say create directory Gaga dir as, okay. Now, if it already exists and I rerun this command, what will happen? It will tell me the directory already exists. So what I can do is to say create or replace. Okay, so it will simply. So right now I have an object called /gaga_dir, which is actually a pointer to this directory on my file system. Very important. If that, many people complain that oh man, I did an export, but the export is not functioning. Why? Because probably you don't have a directory yet defined, and even if you have the directory, maybe you don't have the permission to work on that directory. What can happen is that you can grant permission to that person. You can say grant all on directory to. So what happens is that the person can now use the directory. Not everybody can just walk in there and use the directory unless he has the option, okay? He has the correct permissions. So here we go. I'm going to start off by using the export, the full option. /Gaga has a DBA role, so he has the right to export the full database, not just the schema. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the export data form, and I'm going to say user is /Gaga. I'm going to say full is equal to yes, okay. And I'm going to say directory is equal to, I'm going to use a fake name, DDD, okay, dump file is equal to full.dmp. And I'm going to say log file so let's see how it goes. I gave a wrong password, so let me. Oops, I tapped that wrongly again. I hope it doesn't get me. Oh, sorry. I didn't put it correct. So what does it tell me? Yes. So what happens here is that the directory is wrong. It does not exist. I just did that to test it out. So you have to always make sure you have the right directory correct place. And I can say I call it /Gaga_dir. Okay. Now I'm going to do something. No, sorry. This I'm going to go backwards. I'm going to move this directory, export there, and I'm going to now run that command. And let us see what happens here. Okay, sorry. So you can see directory is defined, but the folder, the directory does not exist on the file system because I moved it. Sorry. I moved it, okay? So I'm going to move it back to its correct position and run the command. So what we're doing here is a full backup. Okay, if your computer is very strong, what you can do actually is you can add the compress option. Okay, when you add the compress option, let me quickly open this stuff here. Open another window. Normally this shouldn't take long. Okay. You can add the compress option. You can write compress equal to all, okay, to make the file smaller. And of course, that one is very resource intensive. It consumes a lot of CPU resources to do. But it's valid when you want to make smaller files, okay? All right, here we go. So there are many other options there. You can also use we just use the full, isn't it? You can also go for tables, only tables, if you use the tables clause, particular tables that you want to. Now, these are things that you do almost every day. So I think you have to know this one. It's every day. This is everyday stuff. It's bread and butter, so you just have to know it. You have schemas, which is users. You can export the whole objects under a schema. And this one is better than the option in the old legacy exp and imp utility, because here you cannot, when you do that, it actually takes also the name, the username and the password. You can use it to recreate the username and the password. We're going to try that very soon. Okay. So here we are. Okay. Let me. All right, very interesting utility. Now we finish that. So if you look under the directory, you can see a file. I go here, export there, and I see that a file has been generated. Okay. Now, if I wanted to compress that file, all I needed to do was to add. If you go to the export data pump help equals to yes. Sorry. You can see the compression clause here. Okay, see the compression here. You have various options. You can compress all. You can compress only the data. You can compress the metadata only. Okay, normally you use the all. It means you compress the whole everything. I could just add that to the to make it compression. Okay, equal to all. It will take longer, but it does the same work. It compresses the file. All right, that's something you should know. And I can do something. You notice I did this is a full export. Okay, I can choose to just export the database with no rows. If I want, for instance, just the ability to recreate the objects, and I'm not interested in the data, I'm interested in what we call the DDL, the data definition language of how to create that database. I want the create statement, I want the create table space statement, I want the create user statement. I can just do, I'm going to make a dump file called metadata. I could say, then I can add an option. You can put it anywhere you want. I can say content equal to metadata underscore only. It's all there in the, if you go up, when you do the help menu, very important, you have to learn how, because on the fly, you always be learning new things. You need an option. You could just use the help menu. Okay, and I can say content, look at it here. All right, I can choose all, which is the default. I can choose data underscore only. It will only export the data, but it won't export the DDL. And I can say metadata only. Metadata only, for instance, you have a table called employees. It will only export the create table employee statement, but it will not export the data. So I can use that option, and it's very useful when you want to preserve things like password, things like the state in which the database was before you made a release. You know what? Normally, there's a certain bank I work with, and normally when we do jobs, the jobs I do normally that require a lot of changes to the database objects, what I do is to export the database full first with the metadata only option, so that I have, the SQL the way it was before I did the modification. Now this is very important because at times they discover that they make errors. And when they make errors, you want to roll back to the way it was before the change was made. You have the advantage when you have the export file already prepared. I could extract the DDL from the export files. So this is much faster because you're not it's going to give me an error there because I typed in the wrong. Okay. Now, of course, we know that within a database, you have many objects. You have tables, you have views, you have materialized views, you have indexes, you have triggers, procedures, packages, sequences. You have lots of objects within a database. Now, you might just want a specific group of objects. I might want to like just export only the packages in a schema. I want to export only the packages in the database. And I want to export only the views in the database. There might be a reason that I want only specific objects. I don't want the whole database. I don't want the whole schema. I only want these objects. How will I do that? You can use the include clause. That's include. Okay? And if I don't want certain objects in my export, I could say exclude, is it? Okay. So these are very, very important things. I can't just but repeat again and again that this is the bread and butter of your one of the bread and butter stuff of your DBA life. You just have to know this thing. It just has to be part of you. They might just call you, hey, DBA, I want you to do something urgently. We have created a new database somewhere. Okay? I want you to export these schemas. I want you to export schema this, schema that, and take it to another database. Okay? The database might be on another computer. The database might be Windows. You might have to export from a Linux machine and import into a Windows machine. Okay, there are many, many things that can happen. They might ask you to refresh only a table because they want to test the data there. You have to export that table. And what happens is that if the table already exists in the destination, you might want to drop it or you want to replace it. So there are many, many scenarios and all this you have to learn, okay? I just want you to know, for instance now, if I wanted to export employees, is it? Or let's say departments. We will talk of employees, okay? Tables equal to now departments, is it? Let me see how we define it here. Department, okay. The part. Now, if I was using another user apart from the owner, I would just have to put the owner dot name of the table. Okay? But I'm going in as the owner, so I don't need to do that. So what I'm going to do, I'm exporting the department table, and I'm doing this. Yeah, because so right now, I'm exporting the department table under the TA Gaga schema. Okay? You see how wonderful it is? So right now I have, now what if I wanted to import it back? What should I do? Okay, let me change the log file so I don't overwrite it. I'm going to use when you run the import command, it goes to check the directory, okay? Whether that file exists in that directory, okay? And whether you have permission. If you have the permission, it will read, then you now read the information in the file and now import. So I'm now trying to import using the import data pump utility. And what does it tell me? It said the table already exists, so it couldn't process it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the clause called the table exists action, okay? Before I do that, let me just clear this stuff here and Clear? Now listen properly. You have the import data pump. You also have the menu, isn't it? Help is equal to yes. You can all see the various options that are used to import. Okay. Then you have data options. You can choose to append. There are many skip constraint errors. It's really a lot of study, you know. It's really interesting. You have many options that are there. Okay. Then you have, let me show you something. Yeah, I'll try to show you the if exists option, meaning that if the table already exists, what you should do, table exists option, what you can either append if it allows you to, if there is no constraint that will prevent you from doing that, or you can replace, okay, or you can skip, or you can truncate. It's very important. Skip is the default. Normally, if the table exists, if you skip that table, it will not do anything. It will not import the data. Okay. So now let me show you something fast here. So I'm going to say table exists action. Okay, where is it there? I can say append. If there is no, the thing is, if I do append, what happens is that if no constraint stops it from doing that, it will duplicate the rows that were there already. So what I'm going to do, truncate at times can fail if you have a constraint that prevents that. I can write replace. Replace will drop the table, then recreate it. Okay. What happens now? It replaced the table, right? Now, if I use the option like truncate, sorry, let me truncate. Let's see what happens. Okay. So you see, it works very well. And if I wanted to remap, I want to remap this to another schema, to another table. Remap. I want to remap the table to department. So what happened? Has created another table called department 2 under the TA Gaga schema. I remapped the table. Okay. Now if we go to our view here, I'm sure this one would have disconnected by now. Let me reconnect if it allows me to, so that I know it's gone. Anyhow, while it rediscovers itself, let's go on. Okay. So the export import utility is very important. Now, if I, for instance, now I wanted just the DDL statement, okay, let's say a tool that I find very important called the SQL file option, okay, and I'm going to just to generate SQL, okay. Now, if I say import okay, and I write SQL, SQL file is equal to it's going to create a file, an SQL file. It's not going to import anything. Actually, it's just going to simply create an SQL file. It's very important you do this thing, huh? You understand this stuff. So if you look under the directory, directory, you see a file has been created called SQL file, okay? And if I open the file, what you can see here is create table. You know, all it does is to generate the DDL. Very important. At times, you want to preserve what we call sequences, preserve and extract certain DDL statements. This is the shortcut, okay? SQL file parameter, you just use it and you simply, import. Very important, and I want you to know these things. These are tools you're going to use, in the world out there. All right. Now, for instance, you remember I had the full export, okay? Now, how will I know if this is the full? Let me see, full, okay? And that's okay. This is full. This is the full export I did before. Let me see whether this is data pump. Okay. Now, this is the full export. Remember, we did a full database export. From this, I can just choose to create another user called E-LEARING. Okay. Now look at what I'm going to do here. Import data pump. Let me see if I can just find that grep export data pump. Okay. So I don't need to write everything all over. So I'm going to say import data pump. Okay. And I'm going to extract for users schema equals to there's somebody else who did that. Let me just use E-LEARING. Okay. Now I'm going to use the remap E-LEARING. I'm going to create a new user called DAFE3. So what I'm doing here, I'm importing, I extract the object from E-LEARING schema and I now remap it to E-LEARING. So a new user called E-LEARING is created, and it has exactly this identical, schema with that of E-LEARING. All right. So I've duplicated the schema along with its objects using the import data pump utility. It's very powerful, and I advise you learn it. You can also do things in parallel. Okay. I could just run the server with 8 processes, for instance, here. And when I do that, what happens is that, there are 8 processes will be working at the same time in parallel, and you make it much faster. Okay, you make the export much faster. You do this in a very powerful environment where you have powerful CPUs and all that kind of stuff. Okay, and normally this is supported only with the enterprise edition, not with the ordinary standard edition. Okay, so I want you to go back, try this stuff up, on hands. Okay, I could do that. I could remap this schema. Okay, look at it. I could remap it to another okay, and I could say include is equal to, and I will say I'm looking for something that is there that is okay. You just have tables and views. Okay, I could just say include view. The view failed because it needs the table. The view is the select from various tables, so it tells you that it fails because the tables under don't exist. Okay. Okay, I could just say include spreadsheet. Table 5. So it will just, what will happen here? It will just import only the table, but it will not import the constraints. It will not import the view. One minute there, please. Let me check something out. Okay. Let me see this in properly. What error was giving me there? One minute there. Let me check this out. Okay. Check this stuff out here. Where did the error start from? It says data for 5 does not exist, but it's supposed to create it. It's supposed to create it, so why does it tell me it doesn't exist? These are the some things that you enter, and somehow you always have this. Maybe it doesn't want me to use the include clause here. Okay. Maybe it doesn't like the include clause. Check this out. Okay, it doesn't like the include clause along with the option. Okay, always remember to use the menu. Help is equal to yes. Okay. so you can know the correct combinations to use. All right. Okay, this is the first part of the export and import data pump utility. Let us understand that we're going to still do another one. Okay. Second part where we can do other more advanced options, like how you can connect to a session that is already in course and how to kill a session, how to view the progress of a session from another location, and how to do consistent you know consistent backups using or can say almost consistent versions of the export utility. Remember, for instance, you are exporting data, and while you're exporting data, somebody is modifying the objects within the within your export. Tables are being modified. You have something that is not really consistent, but there's a way you can go around that, by using the various options like the flashback options. This is what we're going to learn in the next lesson. Okay. You can export partitions. You can export using the query option. Okay, and there are many other options. And I think what we need for now is just the base first, and from that base we build upon it to get other things. Okay. All right. So I'm going to. You can always review the video